All right, we are going to begin. Welcome everyone to the 2026 Screenplays and Scheduling webinar. My name is Aaton Cohen-Sitt from Jungle Software. I do this webinar once a year. I think this is our fourth year doing this, and it is one of our most popular webinars. Once again, my name is Aaton. We're going to get started on this. There's going to be a lot of stuff on here that if you are a screenwriter or a director or producer, you're going to say, oh, I kind of know that already. That's kind of basic. But there's going to be a lot of things here that you don't know, or at least I'm going to assume you don't know because I've been doing this for over 25 years. And every time I do this session, there's always some interesting stuff that comes out. My chat is on. So if you want to chat in with a question, please do so. Please try to limit your chats to the topic that I am discussing at the moment. It'll alleviate the chat. And again, I don't have a moderator, but at the end of the session, I will have an open Q&A, and you can ask me absolutely anything you want about screenwriting, about Final Draft, about Gorilla, about scheduling. Uh, no limit there on the questions that you can ask. So let's get going. Okay. So what we're going to go over today, and again, like I said, some of this stuff is a little basic, but trust me, it's going to get some really cool advanced stuff that you're going to really benefit from if you are, not just if you are a writer, but if you are thinking of doing scheduling and trying to bring your screenplay into scheduling. With 100%, you're going to learn stuff. So we're going to go over the basics of formatting your screenplay. And I know a lot of you are like, yeah, I know how to do that. Okay, I guarantee there's going to be one or two things in that little section there. You're going to be, oh, I didn't know that. We're going to import the screenplay into scheduling. I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to fix import errors because one of the biggest things that I get here at Jungle Software with Gorilla and with any other scheduling program is there are always errors in the import that you didn't really see in the screenplay. You're like, well, I don't understand. How come that came in and this looks all funky? I'm going to show you how to fix the majority of these errors. We're going to talk just a little bit about, hi, from Los Angeles. I'm from Simi Valley, so we're very close, Tony. We're going to talk about writing in a different language. If you are writing in a different language, if you are writing in Spanish or in French or in Turkish, I mean, Gorilla supports, I think, 17 languages or something like that. And so does Final Draft. So you can write in Final Draft in that native language, import it into scheduling, and it'll all be there in that native language. We're going to talk about tagging the screenplay. This is going to be the bulk of this session here because there's multiple ways to tag. If you don't know what tagging is, well, you're going to find out. If you do know, great. We're going to talk about syncing the screenplay. What happens if you modify the screenplay after you already imported it into scheduling? There's quite a few things you can do because you want to make sure that you do the most efficient thing possible. Re-importing the entire screenplay again after you've done all your shoot days and your tagging and all that kind of stuff could be really not the best way to go. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about breaking down the script. So once the screenplay is in scheduling, we got to break it down. And what's breaking down? We're going to talk about that. Going through adding props and set dressing and wardrobe and things like that. Okay, and there's multiple ways to do that. You can tag here in Gorilla, or you can tag in Final Draft. Most people do both, and that's probably the best way to do it. And then we're going to get into some of the scheduling aspects of how to create a calendar and shoot days for your schedule. That's important. And then crew and actors. We're really into pre-production now, how to add crew actors to your schedule, scheduling the scenes on the board. And of course, the scenes are from the screenplay initially that are now breakdown sheets. And then we're going to go over some call sheets and other reports in scheduling, and then we're going to have a Q&A. Yes, this is recording. This meeting is being recorded, and it will be up on our site probably within 48 hours. So no problem if you miss that because I do go kind of fast. So you will get all this information if you want to view it later. Okay? Okay. So Again, this is the basic stuff. So if you are a seasoned writer, hold on, don't go because trust me, I have to go over the basics. I can't just jump to the advanced stuff. I got to do a little bit of the basics, otherwise I'm not doing it justice. Okay, the screenplay formats to use. There are three. The first is the FDX, F as in final. Obviously, that is the final draft file format. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Then there's the S as in Sam. It's not sex, it's scheduling export. I know that sounds silly, but that's the people that did that format were a little immature at the time, and they think that that's funny. Okay, it's still funny 30 years ago, whatever. The SEX or sex file format is going to be talked about just a little bit, and Final Draft does export into that. And then finally, a PDF. This is brand new in Gorilla 10, by the way, or maybe it was 9, I don't remember exactly. But if you don't have the FDX, if you don't have the SCX, you can import a PDF, and everyone who's doing scheduling should at least have a PDF of their screenplay. No, I don't really talk much about that in this seminar, but there is videos. We do have videos that explain exactly how to go through and import a PDF file into scheduling. Okay, so real quick, and I think I went over this in the last slide. Final Draft does both. It does the FDX, the SEX, and of course it could do a PDF. You guys know that, right? You can do a PDF from Final Draft. There's no reason to, however, unless you're sending your screenplay to someone who just wants to read it. But if you're going to use your screenplay to import into scheduling, you want to use most likely the first file format, the FDX, because that has the most information. Movie Magic Screenwriter, by the way, I do have to ask this because I have to do due diligence. Can I just get a quick, I mean, I know it's going to go crazy here. So I know most people do use Final Draft, so you don't have to say I use Final Draft because the chat will be filled with that. But if you don't use Final, if you use anything other than Final Draft, which is totally fine, please chat that in just so I can know and so other people can know also. So if you do use Movie Magic Screenwriter or some of the other screenwriting programs, please chat that in just so I can know and so other people around you can know. Oh, okay. Excellent. Highland Pro. That's not bad. Writer's Duet. Perfect. Both. Nice. And Fade In and Writer's Duet is the next one here on my list. That also uses the FDX file format, so you're totally fine. Oh, Arc Studio. I've heard of that. Okay. And then finally the PDF. So we really have everything covered because at the okay, so what we are going to talk about basically is the FDX file format. Okay, but we will touch upon the others. Okay, now what is the SEX file import? And this is important when you import into scheduling, and this goes for well, it goes for Gorilla. Movie Magic Scheduling does not import the FDX file. I should have a big warning sign here on the next slide, but I didn't do that with a buzzer. Movie Magic Scheduling does not, and I will repeat that, properly import the FDX file. They will import the SEX file, which is the very old file format from 30 years ago. So the SEX file will import the scene heading, which is the interior set time of day, the scene number, great. The page count, great. That's really important. Characters with dialogue. So only the characters that have dialogue in the scene. So if you, in the action, if you have a character, John jumps onto the car and breaks in the action, if he doesn't have any dialogue in that scene, he will not be imported into or tagged in the screenplay and therefore not be tagged in scheduling. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. And then scheduled elements, if the screenplay is tagged, and we're going to go over that. Okay. Now that's what the SEX file imports. The FDX does everything that is in the SEX, plus it does a few more things. So we're going to show you now, this is just I'm going to go into Final Draft and Gorilla. I'm going to show you all the programs in just a second, but I just want to get through some of these slides here. So the SEX file will import, as you can see here, the slug line, if you want to call it the slug line, right? We've got our interior set day, and you can see very clearly there, interior, Norman's parents' house, night. It will import the scene number, which you can see here in Gorilla. The scene number is there. It will import the page count. Very important because the page count is what's needed when you do the strip board. How many pages is a scene? Can you shoot that scene within that time frame on the board for the day? And you can see here on the left, it's going to import the categories, right? These are the tagged categories like props and set dressing and this and that. And then, of course, it's going to import anything that is tagged in the screenplay, props and things like that, if you've tagged them. Okay. So as you can see, this is just a summary. The FDX imports all the information that the SCX file imports, plus all this stuff too, which is the action, the character parenthetical. You could basically see the screenplay in Gorilla as a reference. So that's really, really nice. And again, I need another big siren that says Movie Magic Scheduling does not import this information when you import a screenplay into their program. So you do not have a reference of the screenplay in Movie Magic Scheduling. Just very, very important because people want to see the screenplay when they're breaking it down. Okay, so this is the screen of Gorilla of what the FDX file imports, and you can see it gets all this information here. Plus, down here in the bottom right, you can see the actual scene, and this is right from Final Draft. Basically, it brings in the information for that particular scene, and it's color coded, which is color coded by the tags. Okay, now I'm going to talk a little bit about the scene heading because this is probably one of the most biggest errors that people do, and basically the time of day. So I will give a free copy of Gorilla to anyone in this chat, in this seminar, that can tell me what time of day scene 10 in this strip board takes place. Do you see where it says moments later right there? No. Dawn is scene 1. Scene 2 is day. Midnight. Okay, Jen just like, what the hell, man? It's midnight. Okay. We don't know. And we don't know because look at scene 10. The previous scene is not scene 9. Do you see that? If scene 9 was right above scene 10 and it said moments later, my answer would be, okay, it's dawn, right? But that's scene 10. This is 9 scenes or 8 scenes later. Who knows what the hell time of day that is? And so many writers in their screenplay will write moments later, scene 10, moments later. What do you mean moments later? Moments later from where? From when? When in a strip board, you don't know what the scene before is. In a screenplay, you do. So it's very clear when you're reading the screenplay that you can say, oh, okay, it's moments later from dawn or from midnight, right? You don't know. So when a writer writes moments later for the time of day, I want to slap him in the face because it's not moments later. This will default to day. No, continuous also. You tell me what continuous is. You look at scene 10 right there, and if I said continuous to what? I mean, scene 9, right? But I don't see scene 9 there, do you? It's scene 1, right? Not scene 9. So again, you get slapped. So I do this because every writer does this. Not every, I would say 80, 90%. And when it comes into Gorilla, it's going to default, it's just going to do day. So it's going to be wrong, most likely. I mean, most likely it's probably day, but it could be very well be wrong. So do not use moments later. Okay. So interior, exterior is for this is why I spend so much time on this. Okay. Interior, exterior, yes, that you got to start with that with a period. The set, whatever that is, right? And scene 10 is showing because it comes after scene. Right. Scene 10 is showing because this is on the strip board. You're shooting scene 10 after you're shooting scene 1 on day 1. Do you see that? Okay. Not because I know better. Good. Right? It's a binary thing. I love your comments. So then you got the set and then you have a time of day. It's called time of day for a reason. Okay. So you can see I highlighted that in red, right? So this is some examples of proper formatting for the slug line. house day, exterior house night, morning, sunset, dusk. These are all fine. You could say day, night, morning, sunset, dusk. You can all do that. You also should have a dash between the set and the time of day. Some people put two dashes. Well, it might come in. Some people put commas. Don't do that. So what do we do in that situation? Add, no, 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 no. That's the strip board. You're not going to shoot scene 9. You wanted to shoot. That's a good question, though. It's a good question. What you do is you go back. You can Tony's got a good solution. Just use night and day. That's totally fine. Funny, I've been told off for writing things. No, you can in Gorilla you can write sunset. Okay, Movie Magic scheduling you could only do 4. Night, day. Is it morning and evening? I think it's morning and evening in Movie Magic. I think they only default to 4. Gorilla, I'll show you could do more, but it's got to still be a time of day. Okay, so you don't put scene 9 there. This is the strip board. This is not the screenplay. You change moments later to, and I can't even tell you what it's supposed to be because I don't know what scene 9 is. Right? You're correct. You can customize the TO day in MMS. You could do the same in Gorilla too. I'm not arguing there. You're absolutely right. So let me go to some of the improper formatting. Right? Exterior dash dash house dash dash day. No. Exterior period house period night. No. Continued. No. Later. No. Moments later. No. Again, when you're reading the screenplay, it doesn't matter. If you're sending it to an agent, it doesn't matter, or a producer, it doesn't matter. But when you're preparing it for scheduling, it really, really matters. Okay. I think I've done that to death. All right. I'll take more questions if you want with that one. Absolutely. But let's move on to the next one because even I'm getting sick of it. Okay. The next one here, parentheticals. A lot of people don't use, and there's a reason, again, bang me over the head. I'm not trying to bang you over the head. I do this because I see these errors all the time. Doing this for 25 plus years, and I see screenplays all the time, every day. Parentheticals, very clearly what a parenthetical is. It's a note. I'm going to read it right here, or direction on how a particular line of dialogue or action is delivered by a character. So here's a perfect example, loudly. Okay? You could do a parenthetical that is very clearly a how to deliver the line. Okay, it really shouldn't be action. Okay, it shouldn't be moves over to the end table and turns on the light. No, that's an action. It should not be in the parenthetical. Leave a parenthetical to be a parenthetical. Okay. There you go. This is improper. Kneels and puts his hand on his face and screams at the top of his lung, tears flowing from his angered face. I mean, if you want to write that, you certainly can, but don't do it in a parenthetical. Do it in an action line. Okay? Okay, scene numbering. So most people number their scenes, which is great, but by default, and let me pop into this final draft now so we can get out of the PowerPoint real quick. And let's see if I can get to one of my samples here. So this is final draft. And when you first do a new screenplay, by default, the scenes are not numbered. So if I type interior house day, action, living room, notice that there's no numbers here. So before, and that's fine, but before you export, you want to number your scenes. Okay, very easy to do that. You just go up to the production menu, select scene numbers, and click OK, and you're done. It's all you got to do. And now you're ready to export your screenplay, and you could bring it into scheduling. Okay, some people don't do that, and that can bring in errors. Otherwise, Gorilla's got a guess what the numbers are. It might not even do it properly, for all I know. Omit scene, you can totally do this if you want. So if you want to go in and omit a scene, production, omit. This is actually a kind of, I'm sorry, is it under tools? Right here, production. It doesn't delete it. It just hides it because either we're going to cut the scene out, but you don't want to delete it quite yet. So you could totally do that. And if you omit a scene, it will come in, I believe, as omitted in Gorilla. Okay. Format assistant. Okay. We're almost ready to import the screenplay into scheduling, but there's one more thing that we need to do. Format Assistant. Now, this is a wonderful tool built into Final Draft. And what this is going to do, Tools Format Assistant, you could just go in here and let me go to the another one here. Okay, and go to the top. This is another sample. If you go to Tools and right here, Format Assistant, and I'll do it in just a second, what this is going to do is it's going to go through your entire screenplay and check for possible errors. I guarantee you, even I don't really write that much anymore, but even the most seasoned writer will find some errors before you import the screenplay. You want to fix those errors. And I'm going to go over some of those right now. Okay, we're going to get to the good stuff now, but I told you this stuff was going to be kind of basic in the first few minutes, right? Okay, let's do this real quick. Scene 11. I'm going to show you an error in scene 11. And we're going to go to scene 11 right now. See, here we go. Scene 11. Let me see if I could find it. If anyone can find it, it's a visible error. Just pop it in the chat. But I see it already immediately. I'll give you 10 seconds while I take some water. Can anyone see the error right here in scene 11? It's okay if you don't. That's why you're here. Continued. You got it. Right here. Amanda says some dialogue, and then Amanda says some more dialogue. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but you cannot have Amanda and Amanda doing a double dialogue, right? You got to fix that. Now, even if I'm going to put my cursor right there, and I'm going to go to Tools, Format Assistant, and you can see Final Draft caught it, okay? And it says right here, characters should not speak twice in a row without a different element separating them. You got to have character, dialogue, character, dialogue. Of course, you're going to have character parenthetical dialogue, right? You cannot have character, character. Now, notice that the fix button is grayed out. About half the time, Final Draft can fix the error. I'm not sure why they can't fix this one. It's pretty easy. You just delete Amanda and backspace up, and it'll fix it. But you got to do it on your own. So you got to close this. You got to come here, delete Amanda, and put it, do backspace so that oh hi, I wasn't expecting you just yet is on one line. Okay, so that's one error that you got to fix. Okay, and Format Assistant will find it, which is kind of cool. All right. This is going to be a harder one, guys. If you can do this, I will give you a copy of Gorilla. Okay. Double dialogue, probably because it's not going to assume the author meant double amend. Well, correct. I mean, it's usually a writing, user error, right? Okay, double dialogue, scene 13. Let me go to scene 13, and let me see. First, let me see if I can see it. Hold on. I don't know if I can see it. Okay, it's not visible, so I'd be cheating if I were telling you that you could find it. It's not a visible error, it's an invisible error. And what I'm going to do is, I'll even do this. Hide, I'm going to show invisibles. There we go. All right, I'll tell you what. I'm not going to give you a copy of Gorilla if you can find it, but I'll give you a damn good discount if you can find it. Can anybody find it here? I'll give you 20 seconds. It is visible. Amanda OS, what is it? Miguel, keep on going. What's the error? No, that is correct. You can say off screen. There's nothing wrong with that. You can say OS. Paragraph marker. Miguel, I think you got it. You're absolutely right. Notice right over here, oh, wait, don't touch them. Okay. And you have a paragraph return. So the writer hit return there and then literally had to go and select dialogue again up here and continue the dialogue. You see that right there? You don't see a paragraph return until it's the end of the dialogue. This is a tricky one. You have to show invisibles to do that. See right there? I'm showing them right now. So if I run Format Assistant on this, it find it. Look, see that? Dialogue should be immediately preceded by same error. But again, it can't fix it. You got to do it on your own, which is kind of a pain. So the only way to fix it is you have to kind of go here, hit delete, and hit space, and notice that that paragraph return is not there. See what a pain in the ass this is? But this is stuff you got to do before you get your screenplay ready for scheduling, okay? So those are two things that are not easy to find, at least this one. This is a tough one, okay? Let's go to another one. Slug line tagged as action. Okay, let me go to scene 14. I see this a lot too. And again, it's just, here we go. Perfect. You see this right here, exterior ledge. Let me hide invisibles. You don't need to see that. Okay. Right here, exterior ledge of the fourth floor. That's a slug line. But wait a minute, what happened to the scene? Well, if I highlight it and I go up here, notice it says action. So this is supposed to be a scene heading, right? The only way to fix it is to do that. And even though you don't really see much, it kind of jumped it down a bit. It changed it now to a scene heading. And then what you got to do is you got to edit the scene number. I know this is scene 14, so I'm going to kind of do that, right? So again, what a pain. But you got to do this, unfortunately. Otherwise, again, reading the screenplay, it's not a problem. But when you try to import it, that scene is going to be part of scene 13 if you import it that way. You don't want that, right? Okay. And then parenthetical tagged as dialogue, scene 16. Let's look at that. Okay, scene 16, parenthetical tagged as dialogue. Give me a sec here, see if I could find it. And again, these are tough to find. That's why, here we go. And again, it looks fine, right? You're like, well, what's wrong with that? Well, let's show invisibles. Okay. Oh, it's still not going to show it, right? Kinda. You see this, the 3 space bars right there? Kinda. The only way to look to do that is to highlight it and look up here. It says dialogue. That's not correct. This needs to be parenthetical. And then we can, of course, fix that. And it's like, it looks exactly the same, but Final Draft will find that. Well, I don't know if Final Draft, I should have tested it. I don't know if Final Draft will find that, but that's an error. Okay. All right. Whew. That's a lot of pain in the ass, man. Let me tell you. Okay. Once you're done with the script, you should lock the pages. You don't really, to be honest with you, I don't do that because I know that I might go back and change things, which is fine. But you want to lock it if you're going to go and import it into scheduling. That's when you want to lock it. There's no reason to lock it. Even if you're done with the screenplay, you don't have to lock it because you might go back a week or 2 or whatever and find or change things. But if you've already imported it, then you want to lock it, because that means if you go back to the screenplay and let's say add a scene between 2 and 3, it'll automatically number the scene 2A, right? You don't want scene 2 and then a new scene 3 and then this to be scene 4, the apartment 6C. You don't want that, because once you've done the schedule, you cannot change the scene numbers. So it's very important to lock the pages after you have imported it into schedule. Does that make sense? Because you want like scene 2A to be a new scene, etc. Okay. All right. Great. I'm going to show you now a couple things that Final Draft will not find. Okay. And again, I know, let's see if I can go into this. Give me a second here. We're now in Gorilla. We've imported the screenplay. I've got 2 copies here, one without errors, the top one, and the second one, it says Hotel Cucaracho with errors. And I got a little red with errors there so you can see that, right? So if I click, first of all, by the way, if to import the screenplay, we're ready to do that. If you click on the plus sign down here, you can then select import screenplay and click on the import screenplay button. And then it's going to give you an option to import the FDX file, the SEX file, or the PDF. Okay. What I did is I selected the FDX button here and imported the screenplay using that file format. If you have an SDX, you want to use that. Now you might ask, I don't know, no one's really asked this yet. Well, I'll pretend I'm actually logged on. I can chat myself. I can chat myself and ask myself this question. The question is, well, wait a minute. If FDX is so much better because you get all this information, you get the action, you get the dialogue, why would you still have the SEX file format? And that's a good question, Aaton. I'm going to answer that question. The SEX file is the easiest file format to import. Notice I went through all those errors with the FDX file, the dialogue and the parenthetical and this and that and this and that. If you import the SEX file, chances are you don't have to do any of that, okay? Because the SEX file, and I'm going to go over here to Final Draft and select Export Script. And right here where it says File Format, by default, it's FDX. But notice there's an option here for SEX right there, okay? So you can export your screenplay into the SEX file, and it'll come in. Not only will it come in without any of those errors, it'll come in faster. Within like 30 seconds, even less, you'll get the whole screenplay. Final Draft, it's parsing through this and through that, and the script notes and the summary and this, all the crap that Final Draft puts in there, right? And it takes a little longer, but the trade-off is you get the action, you get the dialogue, you get all that information in Gorilla. So again, it's a trade-off. Okay, so what was I going to do here? I forgot what I was going to do. Okay. All right, here's a really good one, by the way. This I get a lot. So let me go into the screenplay, the breakdown sheets. So now I've imported the exact screenplay that we were looking at. Okay, I've already done it. And you can see here it's in scheduling, which is kind of a different format, of course, from what we were looking at, but it's ready to be broken down. You've got your scene numbers here on the right. So you can see I could just click on a scene number on the right and everything changes in the main screen. Okay, I've got our exterior and set and page count, beautiful. All this is lovely. And then I click on cast members over here, and I've got cast members that came in. Now, here's ignore the ones that are not numbered. I was messing around with this, okay? I should have cleaned this up, but ignore the ones that are not numbered. Okay, because those are I imported them from another screenplay from a previous seminar. Sorry about that. So anyway, the ones that are numbered, if I look at it real quick, Barney, Amanda, Chubby, Janitor, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Now I know the screenplay, right? Janitor is Barney. That's the same character. So I'm like, wait a minute. How is that possible? And I go back and let's see what it is here. Do I have it in scene? I think I have it in scene 6. Let's see. Hold on. They go to Final Draft. I think, hold on, if I did it right. There we go. Check out scene 6. The writer for this piece of dialogue right here put janitor. He or she didn't put Barney. Barney's the name of the character. He put janitor, because Barney is a janitor. So again, it was just, the writing, blah, 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 blah. And Final Draft created a new character called janitor, right? It's not going to ask you, wait a minute, are you sure you want to do that? No, it's just going to do it. So it's going to import janitor as a completely new character into Gorilla, even though Barney is the janitor, and that's very confusing. So that's something that you want to check. You want to check for character names that are either duplicated or misspelled, and you can fix that in Gorilla. So what you want to do here to fix it is you can combine the character Barney and the character janitor. You don't want to delete janitor, right? This is what a lot of people will do. Oh, I'll just delete it. Well, no, because you go to scene 6 and you go to scene 6 right there, he is. So if you delete janitor, not only will you delete the character from the scene, but also it won't affect this dial. You can change that late if you wanted to. You could change the screenplay display, but you don't want to delete janitor there. You want Barney to be there. Now, again, I could go over here and I could add Barney and then delete. I could do that, but what if I have janitor here 7 or 8 times in 7 or 8 different scenes, right? So the proper way to do that is we're going to go to elements. We're going to go to cast members. We're going to go to Barney. And what we're going to do here, I think we need to do it. Is it here? Hold on a second. I think it's here. Combine elements, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, we need Barney to be also janitor. So we're going to click on janitor. So it's going to say the master element is Barney. We're going to combine Barney with janitor. So all the scenes that janitor is in are now going to be Barney's. Okay, so we can fix that here. It will delete the janitor character. The janitor character, there we go. And you see Barney is right there. Now, the screenplay display still says janitor because that's a different place where that is held. You can fix that if you want. You could click on this edit button right there, and you could fix janitor so that janitor will be Barney. You can certainly do that if you want. Okay. All right, duplicate categories. This happens once in a while. In Final Draft, you can add categories. So for example, if I go back into Final Draft and I click on Navigator, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but let's see if I can do this. Hold on. There we go. Let's see here. Tags. There we go. So down here on the bottom left, if you can see that, these are all the categories that are by default created when you create a new screenplay in Final Draft. 90% of the time, those are fine. They'll completely do everything that you need to do, you know, props and stunts and makeup and light and that kind of thing. But a lot of times people want to add their own. So if you click on the plus sign over there, you can add your own category. So someone here, that was me, I did it. Someone here created wardrobe, okay, and added janitor uniform to wardrobe. Well, the problem is we have costumes already in Final Draft. So when you import this information into Gorilla, you're going to see that we've got wardrobe and we've got costumes. And I mean, I guess you could keep it that way, but you know, you really don't, because whoever's the wardrobe supervisor is going to get a little confused there. So you want to combine those also. So same thing, we want to go back to the elements and we want to go into combine categories right here, right next to combine elements. Oh, thank you, Lynn. Thank you so much. And what you want to do is you want to select the category that you want to combine. Okay, so let's say we want to select costumes and we want to combine it with wardrobe. And it's going to give you the same kind of a thing. Costumes is the primary category. Wardrobe is the secondary. Do you want to combine and do you want to delete the secondary category? Yeah, I don't want them both. I just want one of them, right? And then if we go back, we'll see, yay, costumes is there. Janitor uniform is there. We're set. We're just cleaning up the screenplay. We're cleaning up things that are, I mean, we're not even into scheduling, right? Yes. That question, couldn't you just rename it and replace janitor? You can, absolutely. But again, what if you have 20 of them? What if the writer put janitor in the screenplay 20 times? You really want to do that 20 times in here, right? Oh, replace it. No, oh, I see what you're saying. No, I'm sorry. No, you cannot do that because you're going to then have two Barneys. Okay, you're going to do. It's not going to delete the first Barney. You got to do it with the combine elements option. Okay, because that literally takes all. Yeah, it takes all the scenes from Barney, janitor, and combines them into Barney. Okay, so we're not even into scheduling yet, guys. But I want to get into scheduling. Okay, are we done with this? Let's see. Dual dialogue. I am a big opponent to dual dialogue. Final Draft adds this in their option, and you know what that is. I don't have a sample of it, but it's when you have dialogue next to each other, you know, like the characters are talking over each other. I hate it. First of all, who can read that? You got to read. You're going to read one, and then you don't have four eyes. You're not going to read them both at the same time anyway. And when you import into Gorilla, it doesn't import properly. So I say don't do it. But some people do. It's just not going to import properly. And the page count's going to be messed up and don't do it. But anyway, um, so that could cause issues with importing. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, languages. Oh, you Gorilla now, um, you can, if you go to extras, set language. I always get in trouble when I do this because I can never bring it back. But so the current language is English. If I change it to, let's say, German, notice, anyone here speak German, that the labels, even the categories here, are all now in German. Okay. It doesn't change the display right here. It's not going to convert your screenplay to German. But if you imported your screenplay in German, then that would stay the same. The day-night fields are now going to be in German. Okay. Let me see if I can bring it back. I always mess up here because I can't read German. This is why it's so dangerous for me to do in a seminar. So I'm like, shit, how do I turn this back? No, is it this one? Oh, good, got it. Okay. Whew. That's a tough one. Oh, you speak German. Okay. I got it back to English. We're good. We're back in America. Okay. Now, let's go on next to the next one here. Tagging in final draft. We're finally now going to start into the scheduling. Okay. How are we doing on time? Okay, not bad. So now we're going to talk about tagging. Okay. We just all this time for 40 minutes, we're talking about errors in the screenplay. But look how important that was to find all those errors to bring them in, right? Otherwise, you're going to get a completely messed up screenplay in scheduling. Okay. So let's say we're going to go back to final draft and turn on tagging mode. Is anybody not familiar with tagging mode? Not familiar. Because then I'll do a little. Okay. So I'll do a quick thing on tagging mode in final draft. Perfect. Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not being too basic. Okay. But final draft at one point, I don't remember what version. They're on 13 now. I don't know, maybe it was version 8 or 7 or 8. I don't remember. They introduced tagging. Okay. And what tagging does is it allows you to go through the screenplay and highlight certain elements as a category, like set dressing and props and things like that, which is what you usually do in scheduling. So in order to do that, you click on production tags mode in final draft. And when you do that, you can see all the colors appear here on the screenplay because I've already tagged the screenplay. So each color represents a different, and you can change the colors if you want, but for the most part, the colors are pretty much standard. Each color represents a different category. So if I look here at spoon, right, you can see spoon is brown. Oh, in fact, you can see how it does that. When you're in tagging mode, by the way, you cannot write in final draft. Okay. If I try to write something here, it's going to be like, it's not going to work. It's going to be like, it's going to ask you to tag it. Okay. So if, for example, I want to tag slurping, okay, is a good example. So let me turn off invisibles. Okay, so you don't see that. So if I double click on slurping, and I say, let me tag this as a sound, you click sound, tag. And then you could see sound, slurping was added to the scene, and you can see slurping is now in purple. So that means that when I import scene 3 into Gorilla, slurping is going to be tagged as a sound, okay? So you can go through Final Draft and tag your screenplay this way. The only issue is, there's a lot of things that you want to tag that are not in the screenplay. Now you can add those also in Final Draft. It's a little, I wouldn't say confusing, but you have to go to Navigator and let me see, where's Navigator here? Navigator, come on. There we go. And go to the scene. So let's say I want to go to scene 3 and then go down here and say, there we go, add. So if I add right here, I can then add something here, and this will be tagged in scene 3 as a sound. So you can certainly, is there any automatic tagging, or is it still all manual, one by one, like a smart tagging, I mean? Automatic tagging like an AI? You're talking about like AI? Is that what you mean? Oh, okay. Not yet, not yet. We're looking into that. We're looking into how we can integrate AI with tagging, but not at this time. No. Um, Good question. So you can do that. Sure, you can do that in Final Draft, and it'll come in. Now, obviously, I didn't scene three. You could see over here, slurping is over here also. There's slurping right there. It's not tagged here because I just did it in Final Draft, right? And I already imported this. So in order to tag in Gorilla, there are three ways, I think three ways to do it. Number one, you could do the same thing as Final Draft. So I can double click the slurping. I can click you can't see me do this, hold down the space bar, go to sound, and tag. And now that slurping, it's going to refresh the screen, and slurping is now purple. And you can see up here that slurping is now added to the scene as a tagged element for the category sound. Okay. And if you go to sound over here on the left, you can see slurping is added, which basically means if I want to add slurping to any other scene, I can just do it from there. So for example, now this doesn't quite make sense, but let's go to scene 5. You know what? Let's put slurping here. Chubby is eating soup. So let's say that in the background, there's slurping. This totally makes sense. But notice that slurping is not in scene 5. Okay, I don't see it here to tag. I cannot highlight it and double click it to then add it to the scene. So what I want to do is I want to click on sound, click on slurping, and I now added slurping to scene 5, even though slurping is not actually in scene 5 as a word, okay? But it is tagged. I could do this with a prop. I can do this with, like this scene happens to be, you know, a bowl for you. Okay, so it's a kitchen. It's probably a kitchen. So you could put spoons and forks and bowls and pots and pans and whatever else you need in this particular scene, even though you do not see any of that information. You don't see that set dressing. You don't see any of those props in scene 5. But we need to have them, right? We need to have them. So as the UPM, as the production manager, as the director, if your director is going to tag it, you need to go through and tag all this information in scene 5 or in any other scene for that matter, okay? Another way to tag is if I go to elements. Notice up here, if you could see where my mouse is, I'm going to click on the elements button, and I'm going to go to, I was doing slurping, right? Sound. All right, let me filter this to sound. And here's my sound. And then I'll go into sound. And now this is just, I have a whole category here, a whole record just for sound. You could see here are the scenes for sound, scenes 3 and scene 5, right? I might as well do this since I'm here. Wasn't going to do it, but I might as well. You can literally put in, I mean, slurping is not the greatest thing to do this on. It would be more like a prop, right? How much it cost, is it available, what the rate is, that kind of thing. You could put all that information here. And it'll show you the scenes right here of what that prop or what that set dressing or what that sound is in, okay? And you could also add it to the scene here. So instead of going to scene 3 or scene 5, which is what we did, we can click on the plus sign and then say, well, it's also in scene 10 because that's a kitchen scene. And you can add sound to those scenes if you want that way, okay? Tag links, yes. That's called linking. I don't know if I was going to do that in this seminar, but I'll touch upon it. You see the linked thing right here. So let's say, for example, I'll do it real quick. Let's go to Barney. I think Barney has one. So if I go to Barney, and every time we see Barney's the janitor, and you said soiled shirt. That's actually a perfect example. Oh, I don't have one here. Okay, so because I just imported this, duh. So let's say, for example, I want to create a group. I call it Barney group. I can call it whatever I want. And then I can say, okay, so with Barney, Let's see. I think I have a shirt here. No, janitor uniform, spoiled shirt. That's perfect, right? Let's add a prop. Um, Plunger. All right, perfect. So now, so we got two different categories here. So now we've got Barney. Now, here's the thing. You can actually, I want to change this instead of Barney Group. I'm going to call it we'll call it the plumber. Okay, call it the plumber. Again, you could call it, I mean, you could call it whatever you want, but you could do multiple groups. Okay. You could do another Barney group that's Barney wearing a tuxedo. And obviously he wouldn't be having holding a plunger, he'd be having a bow tie and whatnot. So now that I have created a group, let's go to scene. I want to go to a scene that Barney's not in, which is probably not easy to find. But okay, let's just see. Okay, perfect. Food spatter t-shirt. Let me delete it. So in this scene, Barney's not here. So if I click Barney and I want to add Barney to this scene, notice that there's a little link right here. If I click Barney right there and notice that not only does Barney add it to the scene, but so is janitor uniform, plunger, and food spatter t-shirt. So you see, as a group, you can link elements together, which makes scheduling a lot easier. Okay. That's a nice feature of Gorilla. Wasn't going to go over that in this webinar, I don't think. I don't think it's in the slides, but that's a good question. So again, if you have questions like that, I'll be happy to answer. Okay. Scene 3, Chubby has no dialogue. Okay. So let me go to Final Draft real quick. Let's see if this still makes any sense. Scene 3, I've got Chubby. We're in tags mode. Let me get out of tags mode. So Chubby is in the scene, but there's no dialogue. Yeah, there's no dialogue at all. So if this was imported, but with this screenplay, I hope it was. But scene 3, yeah, see, Chubby's not here. You see right there, Chubby man. So this is normal. If you have a character that is not have any dialogue in a scene, by default, they're not going to come in. So you can either do that in Final Draft, you can add that as a tag, as I showed you when you go to the navigator in Final Draft, and add that, or very simply, you could do that here and say, I want Chubby in this particular scene, and now Chubby is attached to this scene, but you got to do that manually, okay? Okay. I already did this. Perfect. I did the category. I did the dual dialogue. Great. I went a little bit ahead. I did the Chubby. Okay. Good. Okay. So the question now becomes, should you tag the screenplay in scheduling, or should you tag it in the screenplay program? So the advantages. If you tag it in the screenplay, tagging the screenplay gives you a good head start. So especially if you're I mean, if you're the writer, don't even bother. But if you're going to be, if you're going to be going into production as the person who's wrote the screenplay, also, it's really fun. It's kind of fun to go through and kind of tag it and see where you are. But it also gives you kind of a good head start. And also, if you need to re-import the screenplay again from scratch, the screenplay tags are still there, right? So those don't go away. So if you delete the schedule in Gorilla and say, I got to start over again, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, you can import that screenplay again, and all those tags will still be there. In scheduling, if you do it in Gorilla Scheduling has more ways to tag, like I showed you, more tagging features, and it's easier to tag in Gorilla. So I kind of like both, and I've done both in that sample. You do a little bit in Final Draft, and then you do the bulk of it probably in Gorilla. Okay, so now the next question is let's see. Can you use tags so you don't have to write it in actions? It's not a description. When you write your descriptions, right, and I see what you're saying. It's something you need physically for the scene, so that, like a prop or a wardrobe or a costume, something that you need to schedule for that particular scene. So that's where you use a tag. Otherwise, it shouldn't just be a description, or someone does this or someone does that. Shouldn't be a tag. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking, but If you want to rephrase, you can. If I answered your question, great. I'm going to go on. Okay. Does it still make sense to tag the screenplay as well? Again, um, it's completely up to you. If you have the tags, the props, the set dressing in, you probably wouldn't have those in a small production, in a corporate video. But you can. So if it's in the action or line, you say, pencil or desk or whatever you have in the description of the corporate video, you can certainly do that. There's no rule that says you can't tag in the screenplay and not in Gorilla or vice versa. There's really no rule. It's completely up to you. It's just to remember what a tag is. A tag is something you need for the scene, something you need either to be on set or post-production, like it could be a sound or a visual effect or an optical effect. Okay. Go back. Okay. So now, changes made to the script. This is important. Two ways to do changes in the script. If they're minor, just do them in Gorilla. Don't bother with the screenplay. So, for example, if I go, yes, only right. If you go into a scene, and I know that scene 4 is 1 page, but I now modified scene 4 in the screenplay to be a little bit more. I literally added more to the scene. I could literally say, well, now this is 1 2/8, and you can modify that here. If you changed the day to morning or to night, you can do it here. There's no reason to re-import the screenplay if you're literally just modifying 1 or 2 things. It's a pain in the ass to re-import the screenplay. You can do it, and I'm going to show you how that works. But once you've done this and you've done your shoot days and you've done your breakdowns and your strip board, to re-import the screenplay, unless if it's really completely different, then you might want to just start from scratch in general, right? But the whole point is just slight modifications like page count or day night, you don't have to worry about tagging because tagging is done in Gorilla. So if you tag something in the final draft that's added, well, there's no reason to re-import that. You just come over here and do it here, right? But things like page count is really important, okay? Things like day night is really important. Things like the set, if you completely change the set, that's important, okay? Now, if you've added a scene, then you want to do what's called add screenplay. And that's a really cool feature in Gorilla. So I'm going to show you how to do that too. So there's 2 ways to do it. There's sync and there's add. I'm going to show you sync also first. So for example, here's an example of a different screenplay. And you can see scene 1. I put in a red circle, what I added. I added this dialogue. Literally, that's all I added. Okay. And if you look at the left, you can see in the screenplay display, it's not there because I added it later. So understand a couple things. Number 1, it doesn't matter what's here. This doesn't matter. I can literally delete this entirely, or I can literally write a completely different, I can put the Constitution of the United States in here. It doesn't matter. Okay. What matters when you schedule is this scheduled elements for the scene. This matters right here. This matters. The page count matters. Now, adding this dialogue on the right, hey, I got some new dialogue here, will add a page count. It modifies the page count. Probably by, I would just do 1/8 maybe, right? So you could go into Gorilla and either change the page count up at 1/8, but also there's a new character. So you can go in Gorilla and add the character. So again, manually, it can be done. Okay. But I'm going to show you what to do if you don't want to do it manually, if you want to just sync it again. Okay. So that's number 1. We're going to show you that. The next one is, here's the same screenplay. Scene 2A is a completely new scene. Okay. So remember, we lock the script. So if I add a screen in final draft, it's going between 2 and 3. It's going to number it 2A, which is perfectly acceptable, right? So I've got a new scene called 2A. It's not here. Notice over here on the right, you can see scene 2 and scene 3. You don't see right over there. There's no 2A, right? It's got a new set. It's got new action. It's got a couple characters. So again, one of two things. I can add this scene in Gorilla if I want. If you really want to be meticulous about it, I can go into Gorilla and I can say file, breakdown, new breakdown sheet, and it creates a blank sheet, and you can put scene 2A, and do it all right here in Gorilla. You could even add the screenplay display. You can literally write the screenplay if you want, okay? I'm just giving you two ways to do it. Or you could do the sync screenplay. And let's see here. Oh, okay, so this is what it is. So if you do the sync screenplay, if you have those modified changes, if you go to Gorilla and you go to screenplay, notice this up here. This is really important. There is what's called here sync right there. If I select sync screenplay, what it's going to do is going to give you this big, hey, read this, okay? First of all, you want to make sure that you save your schedule before you sync, because a lot of times you sync a screenplay and it's completely messed up. So you don't want to say, oh, where's my screenplay? I want my schedule back. Well, you got to make sure you save it before you do a sync, okay? And then you can go ahead and do the sync. Another thing that is incredibly important, I'm not going to do it now, but I'm going to show you what it looks like, is the scene numbers, like I mentioned before, must be the same. They can't change. So if I literally went over here and say, let me change this scene number to scene, I don't know, 45 or whatever. Now I can do it in Final Draft. If I sync this right now, scene 3 is not going to be synced. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that the scene numbers stay the same. Once you do the sync screenplay, what's going to happen is you're going to choose the revised screenplay, the FDX file, and you're going to get a screen that looks like this. On the left is going to be your current scenes in Gorilla. On the right, you're going to see all the modifications that were imported but not yet integrated into Gorilla. Does that make sense? They were imported and they're in a holding area. They're like, okay, here it is, but we're not going to import it yet until you tell us to. Okay? So notice scene 2A is right there. If I click this little button right there, it's going to only import scene 2A. And down here, scene 16 and scene 17. These are brand new scenes. Okay? If I click these two buttons, it'll import scene 16 and scene 17. Because notice there's no, whoops, whoa, what the hell happened then? There we go. Scene 16 and 17, you can see on the left, it's not there. Okay? So, and that brings me to the next thing. Or you could click this button right here, which just does the whole thing. Okay? So that's one way to do the sync screenplay. Another one is the add screenplay. Notice that I added, which is actually, if you're only adding, it's a better way to do it. If you're only adding. So, for example, scenes 16 and 17 are adding. I'm not modifying. I'm not syncing them, right? They're completely new scenes, and I want to import those into Gorilla. So what I can do instead, notice this right here, add screenplay. So when I click on add screenplay, again, you want to save before you do this. What this is going to do, and let me go into Final Draft and see if I could find it. Maybe it's over here, maybe there. Give me a second here. So what you want to do, there we go, is find those new scenes, 16 and 17, they're just small scenes, right? You want to copy them, create a new file, and paste. Done. Save this as scene 16 or added, what do you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to save it right now. And then use that when you select the add screenplay. When you select over here, add screenplay, we have videos on this also, aside from that are more detailed, okay? So don't worry about, wait, what is he doing? I don't understand. And click on import. You want to find that scene 16 Final Draft file that I just saved. And it will only import scene 16 and scene 17. Okay? So that's good to know. There we go, scene 16 and 17. Okay. Whew. Take a break here. All right. Sorry. How are we doing on time? Okay, good. I think we're doing okay because I'm going to get into the next part of scheduling in a minute, which is creating the shoot days and the breakdown on the strip board, which is kind of fun. So the summary in final draft, right? Let me go to the right one here that I have a sample. Okay. Do you see the purple right here, italicized right there? That's the scene summary. Um, you don't have to use scene summary in Final Draft, but if you do, um, that will import into Gorilla also, but let me show you where. So notice there's a tab right here called Summary. Let me go to scene one because that's where it is, I think, right? There we go. So this is a scene summary for one. This was typed into Final Draft and imported into Gorilla. And there we go. And there's one for scene two. There we go. So that will import here into the summary field. Okay, so if you do use the scene summary, it does import into Gorilla. Okay, the screenplay display. This real quick, just to put this to bed here. This over here is the display. You can modify that, okay? You can literally click on the pencil button over there, and you can we have a format assistant also that checks it to make sure that it's okay. So if, for example, I want to modify this line, I can go in here and add a line or modify put an exclamation point in here or whatever. I could change it to, I mean, you don't want to change this to character because that obviously doesn't make sense, but you can create parentheticals, you can create transitions, you can even do shots. Now, this is really cool. I don't go over this because this is a lot, but there's a whole thing that you could do with shots because you could do that in Final Draft. You could add shots in Final Draft. They import into Gorilla too. Okay, that's again really advanced, but we do have some videos on that. So that's pretty cool that you can modify the screenplay display there, right? Which means not only can you modify it, but you can add, okay? All right, let's see. Are we getting into shoot days yet? Screenplay editing, right? Sides, okay. Linking elements, I did that because, oh, see, I said it wasn't in here, but it was. Okay, I did linking elements, right? Remember the Barney and the t-shirt? Okay, real quick, because I want to get to shoot days. Okay, one more, and then we're on to shoot days. So element management, I kind of went through a little bit of this. This button right up here, which is elements, this is part of scheduling also, because this is all the elements in your screenplay. And you can filter them. So let's say I want to see only my props, right? Let's say I want to alphabetize them. Okay, so it's real easy to very quickly look at all your props, real easy to see. Let me show all. I can modify it this way. I can modify it this way. So let's say, for example, white sangle with wings. Let's see, let's go info. Oh, that's poison tank. Okay, whatever. Well, poison tank. I wonder if that'll work. You can literally go in, like I said, put the rate in here. You can add it to scenes. You can also put in an image. If you have an image of that particular prop or that costume or that wardrobe, you can pop that right in here. We also have, I think, is this what this is? An internet search. I wonder if this will work. Poison tank. Well, all right. It does a search for poison tank. That's not really good. Let me see images. That's not really what I want. Okay. That's not a good one. Poison tank is very generic. How about, let's see, Hostess cupcakes? Maybe that. Let's see. I wonder if that'll find it. Hostess cupcakes. Let's see. That might be better. Okay. That's not too bad. Images. There we go. So if I want an Hostess cupcake, I can copy, right? Copy image, close that, and paste. Ta-da! And now I've got my Hostess cupcakes. Okay. How much they do? They do. So make sure that you, and that was probably a very small file, but you don't want, like when you do iPhone takes huge, pictures, the HEIC format. So make sure you save them as the JPEG, format or a PNG format. JPEG, I think, is smaller than PNG. It doesn't need to be a high resolution. All those images that you can see how small it is here. If you do headshots, and I'm going to show that in a minute, when you go to actors, well, I'll show it now. I'm jumping around a bit, which is fine. So if I do actors, let me go to a file that has some actors in it. I'm just switching to another schedule here. And let me go into here. There we go. So for example, here's a headshot. You want to make sure that the headshot is small because the larger these files are, it can, without a doubt, affect the speed of the program. Okay, so just make sure that they're small. Okay, I'm going to go back to actors later. Let's see, where am I now? All right, I think we're ready to shoot days. Yay. Okay, so now, and we're in the right schedule because now I had to switch schedules for the shoot days. Once you're done with a breakdown, once you're done with breaking down your script, once you're done with tagging everything, you're ready to actually create your calendar, okay, your shoot days. So you click the shoot days button on the top left, and you can create a calendar of your day. So this happens to have 3 or 4 different sections of shoot days. I'm just going to concentrate on the principal photography phase, which is up here. You can create weeks, days, whatever you want. And you'll see here on the calendar, each day is specified whether it's a shoot day or an off day or a travel day. So for example, this one here with the red is an off day. So we're not going to be shooting on the 4th. This one on the 7th is a travel day. However, it's not an off day. So that means it's possible to shoot on a travel day. You only want to specify an off day for a day that you're not shooting, but it's still possible to shoot on a travel day. Okay. But if you want the travel day to also be an off day, you want to make sure that it's a travel day and an off day. Okay, so now we've got our shoot days here. So let's go ahead and click on the 1 day here. We're going into what's called the detail of the shoot day. So we are now in this particular shoot day right here. You can see all the days right there. And this is where you want to enter your cast call times, your crew for the day. You could do things like call sheet information. If anyone doesn't know what a call sheet, let me know and I'll explain it. But this is where you do the call sheet is basically what scenes you're going to shoot for the day, who needs to show up for the day, what times they need to show up, where they need to show up. That's a call sheet. And in Gorilla, with the Koala call sheet add-on, you can create a really beautiful looking call sheet for your cast and crew. So I'm looking at cast call times here with this tab right here. This is going to show me all the cast that I need for this day only. Okay. Now, how does Gorilla even know that? It only knows the scenes. So if I go back to right over here and look at the breakdown sheets tell you what cast is needed for what scene. It does not tell you what cast is needed for what day. Does that make sense? I'll say it one more time. Breakdown sheets, which is what I'm looking at right now, tells you what cast is needed for what scene. Amanda, Chubby, Luigi needed for scene 1. It does not tell you what cast is needed for what day. And if it's confusing, totally fine. I'm going to explain it even more in this next part. Once you create the calendar, which is what we just did, right? Well, I didn't do it, but I showed you where it is. You want to be able to go onto the board. And that, remember the moments later, I showed you a little bit of the board. And what this is going to do, this is going to be where you schedule your scenes for the day, okay, on a stripboard. So the way it works is, and this is already kind of done, but you see it says end of day 1, and this is the first day. Remember the day I showed you in the shoot days. So anything above the black strip is going to be shot on that day. So scene 1, scene 10, and scene 2 are all scheduled to be shot on day 1. Now, why is that? Because whoever did the schedule decided, for whatever reason, that we need to shoot these 3 scenes on this day. Maybe they're all in the same location. Maybe the actors needed for scene 1, 10, and 2 are all the same. There could be a multitude of reasons Why? You schedule scenes for a particular day. But for this particular instance, we have these three scenes on this shoot day. For day two, we now have one, two, three, four scenes, scenes 3, 5, 9, and 4. Again, they're not consecutive at all. You could see they're not even close to being consecutive, right? They completely, I mean, these two are in the apartment. Moments later, I didn't fix that. Okay. Where's moments later? And basement apartment. So, and then there's a banner here. You can enter a banner. Banners are basically notes on the strip board. So once you create the strip, and what you do to modify a scene to be shot on a day, you simply just grab the strip and move it into position. So I literally just moved scene 11 to be shot on the 8th. Okay. And once you do this, you basically told Gorilla what actors are needed for the day, because the actors are connected to the scenes, and the scenes, of course, tell you what actors or what characters are needed for the day. Now, that's a lot of information. Does that all make sense? I'm going to pause just for a second. Does anybody have questions about the strip board? Does the program keep track of what scenes have been filmed and what scenes need to be filmed? Um, yes, if you tell it to. So, for example, let me save the board here. And I think you do that on breakdown sheets. I think so. Let's see. So if I go to breakdown sheets, and let's say that we shot scene 2, I think right here. Oh, here we go. So if you click on the 3 dots there, and there we go. The green flag there tells you that that's been shot. Okay. So you can do that for different scenes here, shot. So now I've got 2 scenes that are shot, scenes 2 and scenes 5. Okay. So as long as you do that, and this will print out properly on I think it'll print out on the board. Let me see. Sorry, I haven't done this part in a while. But I believe there's a way to show that on the board. I don't see it here. Maybe there's a preference. I believe there's a way to show it on the board. Or at least on the print. Maybe it's on the printed one. Let's see. You can turn that off. I'm automatically saving my strip board every time I save, but you can turn that off. So I think, is it here? Maybe it's on the printed. Oh yeah, it's on the printed. Okay, so you can see the flag right there and the flag right there. That's telling you that those 2 have been shot. Okay. Is this compatible with QuickBooks? So first of all, QuickBooks is more budgeting, not scheduling. And I don't do budgeting in this webinar, but you can export data from budgeting, and you can import it into any other third-party program if you want. There's no actual QuickBooks API, if that's what you're asking, but you can manipulate the data out of budgeting in whatever you want. You can do it in Excel or whatever, and then import it into whatever program you want. Can you link up bind scene strips that are supposed to stay always together, even if they move around the schedule, like a bundle? That's actually a very good question. No, I don't believe we have a feature like that, but I like that. I'm gonna make a note of that. That's a cool feature to maybe add to. It's not bad to sort of like scene 1 and 6, and it always has to be shot together so that they always move together. Yeah, that's actually kind of cool. I will look into that. Good question. Okay, let's see now. Let's see, where was I? So this is the strip board. I showed you that you could print the board, right? By default with the flags of what scenes have been shot. You can also export the board. So if you want to export the board to Excel, you could do that also. You can also, there's all these buttons up here. For me to go through all of them will take forever. But these things are like automatically create your board, um, sort your board by location, sort your board, excuse me, sort your board by set. Um, can you create a variable top of the day banner that moves with the day if you move a day's work around? Um, you can create a banner, but again, it's not, it's a loose thing. So you have to move it up or down, if you change things around. It's not linked to anything specifically. So again, just like a strip, a banner is just like a strip. And to create a banner, you just sort of highlight where you want it to be and select the insert banner button. And let's see here, do that. And it creates a banner right there. The nice thing about banners also is that this is fairly new. You can add a time to the banner. So notice that this banner here has 45 minutes. So lunch is 45 minutes. This is pretty cool. So notice that the estimated time for the day is 5 hours. That includes the banner time. Okay, so when you print a board out and you see how much time is estimated for the day, it includes the time of the banner. All right. Another cool thing about the board is, let's see, what was I going to show you here? Oh, sorting different sorts. So I don't go over location, which I really should, in this webinar, but so there's set and there's location. Let me explain the difference real quick because it's really important, and then we'll move on to the next part. So if I, let me just not save that. If I go back to the breakdown sheets, you're going to see I have the set for each scene, right? And that's in Final Draft. So of course, if I go here, this set will be different. If I go here, this set will be different. But notice that there's a field here called location. So location is the physical place you're going to shoot the scene. Let's say this says exterior, the deck of the Titanic. Okay. Well, obviously, we're not going to shoot on the deck of the Titanic. We're going to shoot on a soundstage somewhere on a studio. Okay. That's the location of the scene, not the deck of the Titanic, which is at the bottom of the ocean. Okay. So you can sort by location. You can also sort by set. But if you sort by location, that makes more sense. So let's say we're shooting at a soundstage where you have the deck of the Titanic, and the soundstage right next to it is Barney's apartment or Amanda's apartment or Amanda's bedroom. So you obviously want to shoot those together, or at least in the same day or in the same group of days, right? So you can sort your strip board by location, which is kind of cool because that makes a lot of sense. That's why you have scene 1, scene 10, scene 2. They're not consecutive because a lot of times you're going to shoot the schedule not consecutively. You're going to shoot it which according to what makes more sense physically. Okay, so that's the difference between set and location. And so location here is a completely different field that you can enter to attach it to the set. All right. Okay, so we've done our shoot days. Crew. Okay, so again, we're in scheduling now. We need not just our breakdown sheets and our strip board and our shoot days. We need someone to do it. We need crew. So we have a tab here called crew. We also have actors, which I showed you real quick. So if I click on the crew tab, you can enter crew for your schedule. Now, the nice thing about it is if you can import crew from another schedule. You can import crew from a text or Excel file, or of course, you could just click the plus button down here and add your crew individually one by one. But once you create your crew, if you save that schedule, you can import that crew into another schedule. You could reuse your crew, right? So once you create a crew member, so let's go into the director here. Oh, I'm sorry, that's to change the title. You could add a title, of course, to each crew member, as you can see. But let's say we go into the info of the director. You can then specify what is their contact, their address, their phone number, their email, what shoot dates they're needed. Now, this can be done here, or it could be done on the call sheet information. And let me go back to the call sheet information to show you that. So if I go back to call sheets, I'm going to go back to shoot days and then go to day one. And this was the cast. So this is where I started. The cast is the actors or characters, really. Well, they're attached to actors that you need for the shoot for the day. The crew, and I don't have any. Oh, great. Okay, let me add some. Let me see. So here, well, I could do one at a time, or I could literally add all my crew. So all the crew now from the database of crew, which is my core database, I've now added into this day. Now, let's say I don't need all of them. I could literally just kind of remove a few. Now, this doesn't delete them. It just deletes them from the day. So there's multiple ways to do it, right? And you're like, okay, I don't need all these people, blah, 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 blah. And each one can have a call time. So this guy 8:30, this guy needs to be here at 8:30, this guy needs to be at 10 or 9 or whatever. So you can create call times for each individual crew member, and that gets printed on a call sheet. And that call sheet is distributed to the crew. So the crew knows what time to be there. They're going to know what location to be at, and they're going to know what scenes need to be shot. Okay. So that's crew. Oh, tag crew is primary. So I did, if you have a star next to a crew, let me delete this here. Okay. If I do this and say add primary only, it's only going to add by primary crew to the day. So you don't get like 100 crew members, right? And you can tag as many as you want as primary. You could do 20, 30, whatever. And then you could say, okay, what time are they going to be there, etc. Okay. Oh, the strip board. I already showed you. I kind of jumped around a little bit. I already did the strip board. Sort. Let me do the sort. I didn't do that. So let me go to the strip board. And let me show you a new board. So let's say, for example, oops, final draft. I don't need you. So let's say I want a new, this is great, but I want another board. You can do multiple boards. Okay. So let's say, oh, wrong one. This is here. Where's the new board? Hold on here. Right there. Is that it? There we go. Okay. So let's call this board another. Terrible name, but whatever. And choose principal photography, create board. So when you create a board for the very first time, it's going to create a board consecutively with the scene numbers. And you can, as you can see, very simply, it created a board with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, da, 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 all the way down the line, which basically matches your breakdown sheets, which basically matches your script. Okay. So it's not going to, sort it by any criteria other than scene number. So now, of course, if I want, I can go and drag this up and down and whatnot. But let's say before I do anything, I want to sort it by a certain criteria. So if I click the AZ button, which is right over here, I'm going to say, you know what, let's sort it by, I don't know if I have locations in here, but I know I have sets. So let me try set and sort. It's going to give you a warning. It's going to say, hey, it's going to mess up your sort. But what I've done now is I've sorted the board by set. You really want to do location, right? But again, I don't think I have location on this in this schedule. But Amanda's bedroom, apartment, apartment, apartment. So you see all those 3 apartments? So that probably needs to be a day right there. So I can do this. All these 3 scenes now that are apartment 6C are now scheduled to be shot on one day. And then we've got basement, basement, basement. Okay, let's shoot those 2 on the second day. Beverly Hills, I know that Beverly Hills, California is going to take a whole day for whatever reason, okay? It's a location shoot. We have to travel there. It's going to do 1 full day. And then I know that hallway and kitchenette are right next to each other, and so is living room, okay? And that's going to be another day. So you see how easy it is to schedule? And then I could save this board, and now I've got another board, and I've got more than one board. and you can only have one default board, but you can save as many boards as you want, right? And it keeps on backing it up, which is a feature you can turn off. But basically, if you lose your board or if something crashes, you can import that board back because it saves a snapshot of this board in Excel. Okay. All right. I'm going fast, fast, fast. Let's see. Call sheets. And I think we're after this, we've got Q&A, so we're almost done. We do. Okay. So real quick, I'm going to go over some of the reports that Gorilla can do, and then we're going to go into Q&A. So hopefully you guys have some good questions for me. You already had some good questions. So when you've done your strip board, and you see I've done my board, when you've done your shoot days and all that, you're kind of ready to print some reports. There's multiple ways to print reports out of Gorilla. There's so much you could print out. So if you click the print button down at the very bottom, you're going to see that these are some of the reports that you can print. You could print your board. You could print your breakdown sheets. You could print your call sheet, your crew call, which is basically your crew and times of day that they're needed, right? Cast call, your cast and times of day that they're needed on the set. Character scene, characters and what scenes they're in. Art department is, all the props needed for a certain day, all the set dressing needed for a certain day. Day out of days report, shooting schedule. That's a cool one. Let me show you that one. So you go ahead and say, I want to shoot it for the first day. And this is going to go ahead and show you a report of the scenes that are needed and what actors are needed for that particular day. Okay. If you want to see, there's so many reports to print. If you want to see a sample of them, what you can do, and this is kind of cool, is click is it this one? Hold on. This one. This sample button, and this will give you a very quick, you could just run through, okay, that's what an art department looks like. Got it. What does breakdown sheet boxes? Oh, okay, that's kind of cool. It shows you the breakdown categories and what elements are needed for that particular day in the old style format of the 1970s. And then you got the summary, which is the same report, but in a summary report, the day and what's needed for that particular day. Your call sheet, like I mentioned, right? Cast breakdown. Again, all these, if you're not sure what a report is going to show you, you can preview, there's so many of them, of all these report elements and scenes. You can preview the report before you even print it or attempt to print it. Oh, I'm sorry, I got a question here. When was Gorilla developed? Okay, well, okay, I wouldn't mind answering that. I started Gorilla in 2002 with version 1. And what is that? 25 years? So about 25 years ago. Yeah. I don't know why. I guess I had nothing better to do. I'd love to answer. If you have any more questions about that, I'd be happy to answer. I was the prime initial developer of it. We've had other developers on it since then. I still go in and modify a few things and update a few things, Okay. Good question. Never had that question before, but love it. Okay. Great. And now we're at the Q&A. So be happy to answer. Thank you. Be happy to answer an hour and a half. This is exactly what I wanted. Okay. I've scheduled 30 minutes up until 1 o'clock my time here to answer questions. I don't think I'll be here that long, but I will be happy to answer or give you my best shot at answering any question about Gorilla or Final Draft if I can. Thanks a lot. You're welcome. Let me try to get to this first one here. Can you create multi-category reports by scene or by day, compare 2 or 3 categories? I believe so. When you create a category report, I know that you can do it by scene. I think it does it by day. I'm not sure. And then by day, it'll do it by scene, I think. and then you could do one for visual effects and one for special effects. I don't think it does it on the same report, but you could do two reports that way. Can you sort by script day? Are you talking about the? You're welcome, Anna. Um, can you sort by script day? Are you talking about sort in what? In the board or on breakdown sheets? Not sure what because there's different, where do you want to sort by script day? Um, let's see. Can you explain the pricing? Yes, for scheduling, finance, and koala call. Thanks for creating and showing the feature. Absolutely. Sure. There are multiple options for Gorilla. I just showed you the scheduling part. Um, there's a whole budgeting option to Gorilla, which is right over here, which is a whole other program that you can link. You can import information from the schedule into the budget. And this webinar doesn't do that, doesn't go into budgeting at all. But so the pricing. I will do that in just a second. Give me 1 second. Let me just answer this one question. I'll come right back to pricing because I want to bring up the web page to see. Okay. The stripboard for costumes breakdown. I don't script day. I don't know if you could sort by script day for the breakdown. Let me see. I don't know. Let me see. No. These are what you can do. You could do by time, by IE, which is the interior exterior field, the day, night, location, page count, set, scene number, sheet number, and episode number. But I don't have script day. Easily added, easily added. We can do that for the next reiteration. No problem. We release a version usually every month or so. So I could probably, let me make a real quick note. We could add that. I have some dialogue that is in a foreign language. What is the proper way to format it in Final Draft? Well, in Final Draft, you can certainly type the screenplay in the foreign language. It should come in just fine. The only issue, and I forgot it, I really don't remember, I'd have to look into this, is the day-night. I think if the day-night fields match what we have in the in Gorilla for the foreign language, it'll come in. If not, it might not. So that's the only question that I would look into. But yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. Let me go back to pricing. Okay, let me see if I could bring in the website. Because there's different types of pricing. Sorry, maybe if I can type right. There we go. And if you go to our site, oh, let me see. Thanks so much, Great Truth. You're welcome. You're welcome, Jen. Is Gorilla a separate company from Final Draft? Yes. We are not, we work with Final Draft a lot, but we are not, we're affiliated with them as a partner, but not, it's a different company. Support pricing options. And there's a few options. That's why I want to bring this up. Because you could buy scheduling separately from budgeting, or you could do the combo. So here's the page here. So if you wanted the combo, well, if you wanted just scheduling, because that's probably what you're interested in, it is $24.99 for the month, every month, but you can get a quarterly or yearly option, which saves you money. Okay. That's just for scheduling. The budgeting and scheduling is $39.99 a month. And the call sheets is one add-on that is a one-time fee, $49. So if you want the call sheets or the rate book, because we have a budget rate book, you could do that as a one-time add-on fee. So you got monthly, quarterly, or yearly. So if you only need it for a few months, you could do the monthly. If you want it quarterly, you save a little bit of money. And if you want it yearly, that saves the most money. Okay. The call sheet add-on was a bit confusing. I didn't really go into koala call sheets in terms of how you work it. It's part of shoot days. So you go into shoot days, and then that's where you enter all the data for call sheets. But the nice thing about the call sheets is that, and if you go under extras, training videos, scheduling, we have seven right here. One, two, three, four, five, six, and this one too. Seven videos on the call sheet. How to set it up, how to select items for the call sheet, how to select preferences for the call sheet. I'll show you real quick that in case. Oh, it is an extra cost. Um, just one-time fee, just one-time fee, because we put so much. It used to be a separate program. It used to be a completely separate program that we charged $79 for. And you had to export your schedule from Gorilla to another file and then import it into that program. Now, what we did is we integrated it with Gorilla, but we added a key to activate it because it's a separate program. Because not everybody wants call sheets, but if you go into call sheets and the call sheet button right here, these are all the templates that you can select from. These are all the preferences right over here. It's really a lot. I mean, there's like 2 or 3 hours of videos just on how to do the call sheets. So that's why it's sort of a separate add-on. You're welcome. Glad you enjoyed it. You're welcome, Denise. You're welcome. Yeah, I'll get that up in just a couple days. The recording will be up in just a couple days. You're welcome. Call sheets can go by individual and team. Right, good question. This goes with any report for Gorilla. So, and I didn't go over this, but there are multiple ways to get the call sheet to people or to any report to people. Again, I did not go over this, but there is let me see if I could find it. Right here. Under extras, there's something called email groups, and we have videos on this. And what this allows you to do is create a group, and that group can be cast, it could be crew, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be cast or crew. And you can put a group called actors, for example. You could have a group called camera crew. So you would just want the camera crew and add the camera crew to that group. And then when you do that, and then you can then print a PDF of your report, your call sheet, right? And then you can use the emails, the email groups to, let me see if I can, here we go. Right here, you can, it'll be in that group. So all the constituents of the group will appear in the to field here. And you can add, I could physically just add whatever I want. Or it takes from the cast and crew database, right? You could do a subject if you want, whatever the call sheet, if you want to call it call sheet, and then click send. And when you click send, it'll open up your email program. If you are on Mac, it is Mac email. If it is Windows, it is Outlook, I believe, right? And by default, it opens those programs. And then you could just select the PDF file that you saved from Gorilla, and it'll send it to all those people. So that's one option that you have of sending a call sheet or any report or any PDF. It doesn't even have to be a report from Gorilla. You could do this with anything. So you have your own kind of built-in group, email group right here. Okay. Yeah, it's a very complex. It's like Excel and a calendar on steroids for filmmaking. Is exactly what it is. You're very welcome. I'm just hanging out until everybody's completely gone or until it's 1 o'clock. So no problem, guys. You're very welcome. Thank you. It means a lot when I get the thank yous. It really does. Thank you. What does a koala final call sheet look like? Yeah, uh, it depends on the template you choose, and you can modify it if you want. But let me just do a real quick thing here. You're welcome. So here's a sample of what a call sheet looks like. I got my scenes up here. I got the actors and the role played. I don't have any call time and makeup entered, but if I did, they would be here. Their contact information here. If they have day out of days information and I want that printed, the SWF, that would be here. I'd have to run my day out of days report and I would get that information here. The crew is entered here. This is optional, the elements needed. You don't have to have this here, but you could turn it off, but it'll show the elements needed. Usually this is not on a call sheet, but since we have the information, we had the option of entering that information. The location and address info is here. I didn't put a location for this, but that's where it would be. Any parking information is there. And if I, let's see, do I have another page here? I do. The next page here, you could put this, double-sided, which if you want. Any notes, advanced schedule is here with other scenes. And if you wanted to print it, you could save as PDF right there. You could see that, and then, or print it to a printer. So if you save it to PDF, it'll save on your computer, and then you can use the email groups option to email it to your cast or your crew. If you write a script, should you use this to help understand costs? Yes. Usually you do a schedule before you do a budget. That's the standard because you don't really know how many days you're going to shoot. You kind of need to know that before you do a budget. So it helps with the budgeting. It doesn't dictate it, but it helps. Sometimes, studio or production will say, listen, we have $2 million. That's it. So make it fit within that budget. So sometimes you do, sometimes you do one first and sometimes you do the other. But all right, folks, it is 1:00. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It looks like you did. Any questions, feel free to email me directly. I got my email up there in the chat, aaton@junglesoftware.com. Thank you very much. Or sales or support@junglesoftware.com. It'll all come here to us, and I'll be happy, or someone here will be happy to answer your questions. Thanks very much, and have a wonderful day.